Alright guys, so we're going to start off with an analysis of Q3 Week 8. We're on to our EMI standards now, which are more reading heavy ones, so if you need the full 5 minutes, make sure you take them. So we're going to go through the steps with the first example. So, in arguing against Biologist 3, Biologist 1 might point out which of the following facts. So, let's figure out what Biologist 1 believes. So, genes become more prevalent within a population. Non-coding DNA non-functional. Ensure its own replication. Some is even actively harmful. Okay. Now let's look at Biologist 3. Cells do not waste energy on unnecessary actions, must serve a functional purpose. So they basically think the exact opposite. So, we want to know if they would not have anything non-functional. Many organisms. I'm going to go with A. So A is the one right here where it talks about this. And stuff like this. So this one says it has a function, this one says it does not. So you want to have something where it doesn't talk about function. So you have to read the passages that are in both questions and find their main points. And then depending on the direction of the question, find a counter argument. So this standard is actually pretty difficult. A student who wishes to argue against Biologist 1's viewpoint would most likely address the fact that most mutations are harmful. Nope, because Scientist 1 talks about that. Most cells do a poor job at conserving energy. The length of an organism's DNA sequence is largely uncorrelated with the organism's complexity, and at least some non-coding DNA is known to have active function. So Biologist 1 says DNA or non-coding DNA is non-functional, so the answer to number 2 is automatically D, because that's where your points agree. Which of the following is a strength of Biologist 2's argument? So Biologist 2 says, provides a buffer against harmful effects of mutations. So we have non-coding DNA to prevent problems. Enhancers help regulate protein synthesis. Telomeres are examples that protect cells during. So that one's going to be a no because it doesn't do anything about protection. This one talks about protection, so I'm going to put a dot there. Genes are coding regions that store information. That doesn't help us with non-coding. Mutations are able to convert coding regions into non-coding regions. So these two both talk about mutations and protection, but Biologist 2 is all about protection, so B is the better answer. Number 4, which of the following is a weakness of Biologist 2's hypothesis? It postulates that most spontaneous mutations are beneficial. Nope, because it says the word harmful, so we know that's not true. So that means that this one is going to be right there. We're going to put a dot. We're not going to cancel it out. It postulates that cells expend large amounts of energy synthesizing proteins that are seldom used. Let's see. Do we talk about energy at all? The energy required to copy a large amount is offset by the protection. So, yes, but its main argument isn't about spending energy. So I can cross off C and D because those are basically the same. And that means my answer to 4 is B. No, B is the distractor. I lied to you. So that means the answer to number 4 is D. It postulates that cells expend large amounts of energy replicating completely. So the energy required to copy. So I was wrong here. So this is a weakness of the argument, right? Because we don't know if that's true. So it's saying that like, oh, we offset the good with the bad here, but we don't know if that's true. So the reason that it's not actually B for this one, the reason the answer is D is because when it says most spontaneous mutations of genes are harmful to an organism, that doesn't necessarily make it a weakness, because the whole argument talks about protection. It wants the genes to be harmful. All right, number 5. A student wishes to argue in favor of biologist 3's viewpoint. So we want to say that non-coding DNA is functional. So non-coding still has purpose. A student wishes, or most genes exist to ensure their own replication. The transcription process, that's more of a scientist one thing. The transcription process requires assistance from specialized proteins. Telomere health has been linked to overall cell health, and many enhancers are already known to exist. So, let's see. The purpose is to serve as genetic switches, which are called enhancers, that turn genes on or off. Every gene has at least one enhancer. So for number 5, we want to talk about enhancers, right? Because that's the key term in our passage. So the only one that actually talks about enhancers is D.